Hello there, Drew Hanish of Whiskey Lore, and whiskey tastings are back. I have decided that since I have so many new bottles of whiskey that I haven't done reviews on, it is time for me to jump back in. I started doing something new on my Whiskey Lore podcast, which is Whiskey Flights, where I take you around the world to craft distilleries and interview those people who are making all these wonderful independent craft spirits. And so that brought me into doing an interview with Roy Riachi, who in our second episode of Whiskey Flights introduced us to the distillery in Lebanon. And I wanted to go to some non-traditional places for doing these distillery tours and trips for the podcast. So I started in South Africa, moved to Lebanon, then came across into England and went to Scotland, came back over here, and did a variety. Now I'm actually doing a Great 48 tour where I'm going to 48 craft distilleries around the United States this very year. So busy, 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 and really trying to dig in on craft distilleries, independent craft distilleries across the globe. And last year, when I ended up doing my Whiskey Lore Instagram Fan Favorite Craft Distillery of the Year award, the winner was Riachi. Had a ton of people coming in from Lebanon and voting for this distillery. And it's one I didn't know much about. So if you want to learn a lot about them, you can go check out the podcast, which is the second flight. Go to whiskey-lore.com/flights and you will find that episode. They're all short episodes. I try to keep them to around 30 minutes or so. And so Roy and I have been chatting back and forth since then, and he's looking at introducing a lot more of his whiskeys into the United States. And because of that, I decided it's time to actually review a whiskey that he sent me as kind of a thank you, because I sent him a copy of my Whiskey Lore Volume 1 book. And so he sent me some whiskey, and I thought that was a great trade. And then I said, I'm going to do a review on this. And he said, well, you don't have to, but if you like. And then I said, I can't do a review on this because I can't figure out all the different smells and flavors I'm getting out of this. And it's part of the reason why I've always been very interested in this idea of nosing and tasting whiskeys from around the world, because you're going to taste different grains from that grow up in different climates and with different nutrients in the soil, and then you're going to have different ways of distilling and different types of stills. It's not going to be all Vendome stills, it's not going to be all Forsyth stills. You're going to find a variety, and so that's the reason that I wanted to dive into this. But this is a whiskey that is, this is the dark malt, and it is called dark malt because it is a single malt. But what he is doing is he is using a barley, an imperial barley that is meant for porters and stout beers. So should be a lot of dark, rich notes in this. It does not disappoint. But again, there was something about this that I just couldn't figure out. And it's a predominant note in this whiskey. I get a lot of smoky character in this, and maybe it's an infusing of almost like a barbecue note along with chocolate. I get vanilla, I get Tootsie Roll kind of notes in this. I get a cola note in this as well, so kind of a cherry and vanilla coming through. And just really heavy toasted malt notes in this. Maybe a little maple syrup on top of that. And there's a little bit of a mineral note in it as well. And that's why I say, when I was nosing this, I was going, yes, it's smoky. It's got a little bit of a smoky character to it, but it's not like anything that I've ever really nosed before. So let's dive into the palate. Really nice. Good even mouthfeel. It's not overly heavy, but it's got a nice body to it. I get sort of a raisin coming in, maybe even a little raisinettes kind of a note on this, where a little bit of chocolate-covered raisin coming in. A very meaty note. It ends up again with kind of a bacon kind of a note on the finish of this. Again, a little bit of a touch of that mineral note coming in. This is espresso roast. It says 43% ABV, and Levant Heights is his experimental series, done on pot stills. Coffee note on the nose also, and maybe that's me now reading espresso note. The char, that kind of smoky char note just kind of layers on the tongue. And one of the things that I will say about tasting a whiskey with a nice mouthfeel to it is that the first sip is going to express itself, but some things will be hidden. It's that second time you put it on the palate that it starts to really just saturate your tongue and give you much more of the flavor experience. So very interesting whiskey, one worth checking out if you find it anywhere and you are somebody who wants to taste something new and unique that kind of stretches out your tasting skill and gets you really diving into some flavors and trying to identify things that are a little bit out of the ordinary. So hope you enjoyed this video. There are going to be more of them coming up. In fact, runner-up for last year's competition for Fan Favorite Craft Distillery of the Year, Liberty Poll. I'm going to be doing a tasting of one of their whiskeys coming up in the next episode. And this will actually be attached to the whiskey-lore.com /travel profile for Riachi, as well as that interview. So sign up for a membership because the tasting videos will only be available on YouTube and if you're logged in as a member to our travel guide. Until next time, folks, cheers and Slanjaba.